Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into an absolutely incredible true story about a marginalized 16-year-old high schooler. And honestly, his hidden brilliance didn't just change his own life, it literally changed the world. It's a profound, eye-opening look at what happens when immense talent is completely overlooked, and how quiet persistence can overcome the absolute loudest cruelty. Okay, let's dive into this with a profoundly important core lesson from our source material. The world often notices your brilliance only after it sees your success. It's a harsh truth, isn't it? Society has this terrible habit of totally ignoring the process and only clapping for the finish line. We judge the surface level, completely missing the phenomenal architecture being built right underneath us. I want to ask you something right off the bat here. Have you ever felt invisible? Have you ever felt like you're working incredibly hard in the shadows and absolutely no one sees your actual value? Keep that exact feeling in mind, because this is the story of Ethan, a boy who proved that being unseen definitely does not mean you are powerless.
Chapter 1. The Weight of Being Invisible. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive gap between perception and reality. Every day at Westbridge High, Ethan's classmates just saw a skinny teenager in old clothes reading alone at lunch. They'd mockingly call him the robot, or tell him to calculate how many friends he didn't have. But the unseen reality, it was entirely different. While his mother worked 3 different jobs just to keep food on the table, Ethan was up every single night in their tiny apartment, teaching himself advanced mathematics, physics, coding, and engineering. His intelligence was just staggering.
But, high school can be brutal. And at school, none of that hidden genius mattered. The bullying he endured was relentless. He was regularly pushed into lockers, his lunch was frequently thrown away, and cruel notes were just left on his desk. Yet, through all of this intense harassment, Ethan exhibited a profound, quiet resilience. He never answered back. He just lowered his head, absorbed the blows, and walked to class. Chapter 2. The Breaking Point. There was this one student named Ryan, popular, athletic, wealthy, who took every single opportunity to humiliate Ethan. One rainy afternoon in the school hallway, Ryan grabbed a science project Ethan had built, dangling it dangerously over a puddle. Ryan smirked and dropped it. As the project shattered in the muddy water and the entire hallway erupted in laughter, Ethan just stood there. And for the very first time, he had tears in his eyes. I want you to sit with this question for a second. What do you do when the world breaks what you've built? When you have poured your heart, your mind, and your soul into something in the absolute dark, only for someone to carelessly destroy it in the light? It is a devastating moment. How Ethan responded to this cruelty is the turning point of his entire life. He didn't respond with rage. Actually, he responded with a relentless, unseen routine fueled by his extraordinary intelligence. Step 1. He endured the rest of that terrible school day in absolute silence. Step 2. He went home to find his mother, her hands rough from work, asleep at the kitchen table after a double shift, and he quietly covered her with a blanket. And Step 3. He sat down at his desk and spent the entire night teaching himself even more advanced physics and coding. Before he sat down to work that night, he looked at the broken, muddy pieces of his science project. And looking at those shattered pieces, he made a solemn promise to himself. He said, "One day, they'll remember my name." Chapter 3. Success in the Shadows. Months passed by. While others partied, Ethan built. While others mocked him, he dreamed. When the government announced a massive nationwide competition for young innovators, offering full project funding and a full university scholarship, more than 50,000 participants entered. 50,000! To put that into perspective, that is a massive stadium full of the brightest young minds. And nobody at his high school expected Ethan to enter, let alone win. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the bombshell the principal dropped weeks later. He gathered everyone in the auditorium and announced that out of 50,000 entries, the national winner was one of their own. The room went dead silent as a giant picture of Ethan appeared on the screen. The principal announced that Ethan had designed an AI system capable of detecting early signs of rare diseases with unprecedented accuracy. The auditorium absolutely exploded into applause. The contrast here was staggering. The very same students who had mocked and isolated him suddenly wanted pictures. They wanted friendship. Ethan politely engaged with them, but inside, he felt empty. Because the applause couldn't erase the memory of every single laugh, every shove, and every lonely lunch. Chapter 4.
The Anatomy of Forgiveness.
After the ceremony, as the crowds finally thinned out, Ethan was approached by Ryan, the exact same bully who had shattered his project. But Ryan looked nervous for the very first time in years. He couldn't even meet Ethan's eyes as he apologized. And this brings us to empathy. It's the incredibly complex psychological ability to understand and share the feelings of another, even those who have caused you intense pain. As Ryan stood there, Ethan didn't see an arrogant bully anymore. He saw raw, real pain. Because Ryan quietly revealed a shocking twist. He told Ethan, "My little sister was diagnosed with a rare disease last month." Ryan's voice actually cracked. He explained that the doctor said that Ethan's new AI technology could help people like her someday. Ryan thanked him, not knowing if Ethan could ever possibly forgive him. And in that moment, Ethan suddenly understood that yes, bullies hurt others, but many of them are deeply hurting too. Ethan took a deep breath and he held out his hand. When Ryan asked if he really forgave him, Ethan nodded and gave this profound reason. "Not because you deserve it, but because I don't want to carry that pain anymore." Let's move to and see how this builds into Chapter 5, Believing Before the World Does. You see, letting go of that pain allowed Ethan to step fully into his potential without being anchored to his past. Just look at this incredible trajectory from a severely bullied teen self-teaching in a tiny apartment to a young adult winning a national competition for medical AI and ultimately becoming one of the youngest, most world-renowned scientists on the planet. Today, universities invite him, companies offer him millions, and his work literally saves thousands of lives. But whenever people ask Ethan about his success, he never talks about his intelligence. He doesn't talk about the fame or the millions of dollars. He always tells the exact same story. He talks about a rainy hallway, a broken science project, and a boy who cried while everyone laughed. Because the true lesson of his success is about persisting when everyone is laughing at you. It's about having the sheer strength to believe in yourself before absolutely anyone else does. Because as Ethan's story powerfully proves, the world often only notices your brilliance after it sees your success. So for anyone watching this who is fighting their own unseen battle right now, who feels invisible or alone, remember this. Being underestimated is not the end of your story. Sometimes it is only the starting line. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Look closely at the pieces of whatever the world has tried to break in your life. Where is your hidden brilliance waiting to be built? Thank you so much for exploring this incredible story with me today. Keep building, keep believing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.